topics in HR.
Whether it's passive talent or it's active talent.
That's a soft skill that really gets undersold in the hiring process.
How to manage in the virtual environment.
You get a diverse, cultured group of people. It's a win-win for everybody.
More conversion from candidate leads.
What does that look like in this new virtual world?
Welcome, everyone. It is Thursday, noon Eastern time, and you know what that means. It is time for Talent Experience Live. I'm your host, Devin Foster, and this, of course, is your weekly look at the hot topics in HR, interviews with leaders in the industry, or in this case, potentially future leaders in the industry, and, of course, hot new HR tech, covering everything that you need to know from recruitment to talent acquisition and talent management. While you're here, today we have a very special episode. It is the truth about virtual internships. So be a friend. Sharing is caring. Share this out to your network. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Phenom content. We push out this show on a weekly basis. And actually, today is Wednesday. It's not Thursday. I've lost my marbles. I apologize. Today is Wednesday. This is a special episode. Tomorrow we have an additional one, but we wanted to give our interns here at Phenom a very special day. So don't forget to share this out to your network. If you're not able to catch the full episode, perhaps because you were caught off guard and you said, hey, they're live on Wednesday, not Thursday. That's weird. I have a lunch meeting scheduled with so-and-so. You can always catch the full episode on our YouTube channel or on our blog. It's phenom.com/blog. I apologize about my snafu earlier, but as I mentioned, today is talking about the truth about virtual internships. What's working and what's not working when it comes to virtual internships. Is TikTok a thing that people are using to resonate with Gen Z and getting that hot, new, fresh talent in the door? And are unpaid internships a thing of the past? Couple stats just to set the really narrative today. 70% of companies offer internships as a full-time job. So that's 9 to 5 with a lunch break in between. And 80% of students accept such an offer. As a result, 58% of interns are getting a full-time job post their internships, which is super exciting. That means more than 1 of 2 of your interns will be a colleague within the next year or maybe 2 years, depending on where they start. So today we're talking about virtual internships. But before we start, I always love to kick things off, getting the audience interacting, chiming in the comment section. I see somebody's asking if Phenom offers internships. We, as a matter of fact, do. We have 3 great guests today talking about their experience at Phenom via internship. But my question is, did you have an internship during college or post-college? And if you didn't, that's totally okay. What did you do in your spare time? I know I didn't have an internship, so when I graduated, I was a little bit behind the curve, but don't worry, I was a very, very respectable restaurant employee. So I did everything from catering weddings to waiting tables and bussing tables and everything in between to make ends meet. And that is going to set us up for the future. And that's what internships do today. So if you have any questions for our interns, feel free to drop them into the comment section. And without any more further hesitation, I would love to bring our interns on. We have Denise Seebold, Riley Stack, and Geeta Gunty. They are our marketing interns here at Phenom. And let's kick off the show. Hey, how is everybody? Good. You're excited.
Yeah.
Please hold back your excitement on the show today. I promise this is going to be super easy and fun. We have a lot of great questions for you today. But first, would love to give everyone their moment in the spotlight, if you will, and kick off what's your name, where you're from, and what you're studying, as well as the university that you're attending to. So we'll start with Denise.
All right. Hi, guys. My name is Denise. I am from a small town in central PA called Mifflinburg. So I am a senior at Westchester University studying marketing with a minor in digital marketing and nutrition. So I like to switch it up.
Awesome. Excited to have you on the show. Riley?
Hi, I'm Riley. I'm from Bluebell, Pennsylvania, and I'm currently a senior at Penn State University studying marketing in Spanish.
And Gita?
Hey, I'm Gita. I'm from Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. I'm a student at the University of Pittsburgh, and I'm studying business anthropology.
Awesome. It is a packed house with PA natives today. So this is exciting. I feel like I am getting ganged up on because I'm from New Jersey, and it's only fitting. We're doing this episode in the summer. It's like being on the beach at the Jersey Shore, where us New Jersey people are outnumbered by Pennsylvania folks 3-1, no matter what restaurant you go into. But we'll kick things off. I know today we are talking about the internships, and you guys have been a tremendous help. So thank you before we get started. But the first thing that I wanted to ask you, and we'll start with Denise, is how do you think companies are differentiating themselves when it comes to internships? I'm sure that you looked at a bunch of different organizations. Was paid versus unpaid a huge deciding factor? Was it something around the authentic representation of the organization, what you were going to be doing in day to day, or, what kind of pulls the most weight? I know that around 43% of internships are unpaid. So with that being a 50-50 split almost, what goes into that deciding factor?
Right. Well, I think in my experience, especially this year, communication was a big thing. And I mean, of course, myself and I'm sure companies are still figuring out how to communicate best when it's all virtual, and you're all communicating through a screen. So I get that it's tricky, but it's for sure a turnoff if a company is only reaching out every now and then and not really having that energy behind the communication. So I found Phenom through a referral of an employee that currently works here. And just him speaking so highly of the company and reaching out to me personally was right off the bat, getting off on the right foot. And him just having so many awesome things to say about the company culture here. So that's kind of like that authenticity part of the equation. And it just all came together. I felt like I was valued in the process, and they were actively trying to almost, recruit me and say, Phenom is great, we want you here. So that's something that really stood out. The communication was just like super motivating, and I was inspired from the start, and it was a complete transparent process. So I really appreciated that with Phenom in particular. But as far as attributes go, for what I look for in an internship, number one, you mentioned it has to be paid. I know my mom said, hey, I can't believe you're getting paid. Like I basically paid to do an internship in my day. I was like, Mom, that just won't cut it these days. I have bills. I'm a 20-something-year-old as the other interns are, and we have bills, we have rent. So it's just not realistic. It's not feasible to say, hey, I want you to work 40 hours a week for 3 months and not offer you a dime. So I definitely think that's a way of the past. Number two, I definitely look for an exciting company culture. And I mean, Phenom has that. I did my fair share of stalking, and it was everywhere on the website, social media, and it was so evident in my conversation with the current employee. So that was awesome. Number two, exciting company culture. And then I think the third and final thing I really look for is further opportunity to network, because the world doesn't end with your internship. You have to keep moving on and growing your network as you move into the workforce. So I found all three of those things here at Phenom. And just to reiterate, that's a paid position, exciting company culture, and opportunities to network. So yeah, those are definitely the things I look for.
Awesome. I love that you were a fan of the brand. You must have been an avid watcher of Talent Experience Live before you joined, of course. So it's a dream come true to have you on the show. A couple of things that I did want to call out. You mentioned opportunities to network. One thing resonated with me in college that I will never forget. It's on my LinkedIn. I had a professor. I'm paying thousands of dollars to go to school. And they told me it's not about what you know. It's about who you know. And I never, ever, ever forgot about that. And looking back on my journey, I was a referral to Phenom as well. So it's awesome to hear that even works on the internship level. And I think we're noticing as really a nation and a culture as a whole that compensation has to be there no matter what position you're in. We've talked about it a couple times on this show. You see frontline workers such as the retail or fast food industry are now demanding higher wages. And I think the same thing can be said for internships as we look towards the future. Obviously, it's great to get your school credits and things like that. But like your mom said, it's almost like you're paying for your internship at that point because you have to pay for those other things. Trevor hops in and says, love it, Denise. So job well done. The last thing that you mentioned, or really the first thing that you mentioned, was around communication. And that's something that we talk about a lot on the show. And one way that communication is kind of taking that next step and that next iteration is through video. So Riley, my question for you is video something that is really important within the Gen Z talent pool? I know I get my news in a plethora of ways that I never did previously. A lot of people used to, pick up the newspaper. I listen to podcasts now. I log into, the news on YouTube or whatever it may be. Is that transcending into internships? And is that something that really grabs the generation of the TikTokers, if you will?
TikTokers, wow. I think especially during the times that we're in now, in a remote work environment and working virtually, is so crucial to humanize your brand. And video is an absolutely great way to do that. Video job descriptions and employee testimonials, especially that are targeted towards job seekers, more personalize your brand as well as make potential applicants feel you value them as well as their time. I personally would much rather watch video job descriptions or hear employee testimonials as opposed to just reading, like a little blurb about day-to-day deliverables that might be for a potential position you're applying for. And seeing real-life employee testimonials shows job seekers what it's actually like to work at the company. And it offers them information that enables them to decipher whether or not this is a place they could see themselves at. And I know, like, reading about Phenom and looking at videos really made all the difference for me, as opposed to just looking at a little blurb under a description.
No, that makes sense. I think it's an engaging content, right? And the way that we consume content as a whole, you see it with social media, right? It was a big move for Instagram. I'm dating myself now, but for Instagram to include video, right? That wasn't what it was there for initially. It was just pictures. Then Twitter has video on it and all of these other aspects. So it makes sense that you want to meet people where they are, and having that a real life testimonial or those real life kind of stories being told come off so much more genuine than just bullet points on a job description. I know that when I was on my job search, that's the first thing that I scrolled to. It didn't matter about the company culture or things like that. Obviously, that went into my decision-making process, but immediately I just scrolled to how many years of experience, what's compensation, things like that. And you may miss out on candidates if you don't showcase your company culture and say, hey, it's worth throwing your name into the hat to see if you get this job. Geeta, I talked about TikTok. Now I have to ask you, it almost feels like talent acquisition and job descriptions and things like that mimic consumer behavior at the end of the day. And with paid advertisements on TikTok and paid advertisements on Instagram, are you beginning to see a trend of people posting job description and posting job openings on TikTok? And is it viable? Does it resonate with your audience, or do you just scroll to the next video of somebody doing a funny dance someplace?
Yeah, definitely. So I think social media in general could be a great tool for hiring, Facebook and LinkedIn specifically, but I don't think TikTok is a viable source. TikTok has become a safe space for Gen Z to express themselves, create their own content, raise awareness for issues, and escape reality for a while. And I think advertising on TikTok usually leads people to ignore those kinds of videos or kind of scroll past and not really engage, unless you're specifically looking for content creators to employ. But content creators are usually sponsored, not employed. TikTok also has a large population of minors, so most wouldn't really be looking for internships at this caliber. I think TikTok could be used to hype up certain job roles and positions, but trying to hire for individual companies wouldn't really work.
I think the only viable company that would be successful at this is Steakums. For those of you who are on Twitter, they have one of the best Twitters that I've ever seen. It is very funny, but it's also a very true point where you bring up, where it is a safe space, a place for people to kind of escape reality in that sense. I promise I'm still here. Camera turned off for just a second, so nobody worry. But moving on, Riley, you touched on this a little bit earlier, but how has virtual internships like this one differed from previous internships? I'll throw this question over to you, Denise. I know that 67% of students who have engaged in virtual internships prefer daily check-ins with their manager. So when it comes to collaboration, how difficult was that being in a completely new environment that you're not used to, right? It's not like schooling where, you have to show up and, raise your hand that I'm here. It's completely different. Did the virtual schooling prep you for a virtual internship, or was it something that is completely new?
Yeah, I mean, I think this past year and a half of almost teaching ourselves the curriculum in school and really navigating how to best prioritize your own time so that you're still productive, but as students we're balancing so much. So it's definitely been a big learning experience and something that I've applied to a bunch of different areas of my life, but especially professionally, working in this type of environment now, we are so accustomed to making it work. Like we have a year and a half under our belt of, well, if somebody can't make it to a meeting in person, we're going to Zoom. Like you're not getting out of that one. So I think just being so adapted to how hybrid and even completely remote kind of collaboration and communication works is something that our generation and this next wave of people graduating post-grad and going into the job force, that's like a unique asset we're going to bring, because we've kind of been through the ringer and we've been through these few years where we're experimenting, we're finding what works and what doesn't. As far as past work experiences and how they differed, my last internship was almost completely in person until the end when COVID hit, but it was definitely a different experience. Just being able to have that daily social interaction, and even this might be silly, but the commute to work is something that I really looked forward to as a time to center my mind, get ready for the day ahead. And now my commute's 30 seconds down to my dining room, so it's a little different, not that much time to decompress, but it comes with its ups and downs for sure. I think this hybrid environment allows for a bit more flexibility throughout the day and kind of making it work for you. It definitely requires some motivation to be able to still be productive when you have so many different variables and distractions around you. But I definitely think Riley, Gita, and I and the rest of our peers are uniquely kind of skilled now at this, and we're going to bring a unique skill set for sure to the job force once we get out there. Say, you know what, we're pros at Zoom and we're pros at talking in person, so give it to us. We can do it both. All relative.
That makes sense. You mentioned the commute immediately. I thought that is one of my least favorite parts. So give it around 10 years of doing the daily grind and the daily commute. Get caught in a couple traffic jams here and there. Get pulled over once. That's happened to me. You no longer love your commute anymore, and you'll revel in the days of, I wish I could just go to my dining room table. I do want to call out a couple questions in the comment section. This one is for you, Denise. In looking for an internship, how did you gauge the value you could get from a virtual internship versus the traditional one that you had experienced? How did you say, I want to make sure that this is successful? I know what it was like when I was in person, where I could build relationships, where I could grow as a professional, versus I'm virtual now. I'm working from my dining room table. Am I really going to get that hands-on experience to see how things are done and how deliverables are met when I'm miles and miles away from my coworkers?
Right. Well, kind of like I mentioned before in the whole job search, initially before I even started at Phenom, something that really spoke to me and really stood out was how the communication was from the get-go. And a lot of the places I talked to, it would take, weeks to hear back. In Phenom, it was a very straightforward process. They were excited to have me joining the team potentially, and were very open in communication. So from the very start, having that open line of communication that was also energetic and welcoming was making me more confident in the hopes that, once I actually get to the position where I am working for this company, we're going to be able to communicate effectively even through a screen. So I think from the very start, communication is key. And if you are kind of not on the ball there and showing that you have weaknesses and you haven't really adapted, it's not going to be great for newcomers, especially. So Phenom really showed me from the start that they had their ducks in a row.
Nice. That's awesome to hear. This question just came in as well, and I think it's a great one. We'll go around the table for it. But this individual says, I would love to hear if participants actually want to go back to the office. So many younger workers are reluctant to return. So we'll start with you, Geeta. How does it feel about going back to the office, and what do you see for the future of work? Are you just looking for hybrid? Are you looking for remote? Kind of talk us through that, and then we'll go around to everyone else.
Yeah, so actually Denise and I had the opportunity to go into the office last week, and it was definitely an incredible experience. We got to meet our team members for the first time in person, and it was really nice to be able to hop onto meetings in a conference room instead of on Zoom. But I also know that working virtually has given me a lot of flexibility in time of shaving off a lot of commute time. I have to drive an hour to get into the office. And I also know that a lot of members of our team work from around the world. So I think hybrid is definitely the way to go for the future. It just gives a lot of flexibility for people, despite like whether they're working from it's like 30 minutes from the office or they live on the other side of the world. It really just gives a lot of flexibility.
That makes sense. See, Denise, not everybody loves their commute.
I didn't say that. I mean, I love it's okay. But driving an hour 5 days a week isn't good.
Yeah. No, that's not fun at all. Riley, how about you? How are you looking, towards the future when it comes to remote or in person?
Now, I do enjoy working remotely because it gives flexibility and it gives time to be with your family more. And if I want to go on the beach, I can work from the beach or stay here. But at the same time, working entirely virtually loses that important factor of being able to sit down with a team, write on a whiteboard and just have that creative, natural flow of ideas. And that's something I would like to have eventually. And hopefully by the end of summer, we'll be able to go in the office, all three of us. But looking into the future, I really do think that companies, since it's so much, it saves a lot financially, but also like time-wise too. I think companies will adapt to hybrid work schedules and such because it's just been so accustomed to that and it's much easier. So I can definitely see that going forward.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it opens up a talent pool as well, right? I went to college in Florida, so an internship, not that I would ever be qualified, but for Google or for Facebook or IBM or all of these large organizations was never an option for me because I was in Florida. But having that virtual aspect and the flexibility of both could be an option. Denise, how about you? I know you were in the office with Geeta, she mentioned. What did you like about it? Are you hesitant to go back full time when that time comes around? Talk us through your thought process there.
Yeah, I mean, for myself, in particular, I really value, no matter the commute, just that face-to-face, interaction. I'm a people person. I love looking someone in the eye and having a conversation face-to-face. So when we were able to go into the office, it was funny, and I'm sure a lot of us can relate now that we're Zoom pros. You have this like certain idea of what people look like behind a screen, and then you go in and you're like, wow, this guy has way more height than I expected, or like his head's a little bit bigger than I saw on Zoom. So I think it's funny now to kind of experiment with that both, and it was something I enjoyed. And I'm sure everyone was like, wow, did not expect to see Denise this way. But yeah, I personally value in office more than anything else. I think we're fortunate that now we have this hybrid option. And I feel like nobody's ever said hybrid this much in a sentence prior to this year. But it's a really awesome option, especially if you have like some schedule conflicts one day, or, a lot of people have kids in the office. They have to take someone to a doctor's appointment in the morning. You can still kind of work. So I think it, like Riley and Geeta said before, it does allow for that flexibility. But for myself in particular, if I had the opportunity to go back in office, I definitely would.
Yeah, I think I fall on that same boat where it's nice to work from home occasionally, but being in the office and being able to collaborate. Riley, I think you mentioned whiteboarding. I know there's a functionality within Zoom, and this is not Zoom slander. It's just not the same, right? You don't get the smell of the expo marker. You don't get to wipe something clean. There's something about that there. Gita, there is another comment in the comment section that I'm going to call out, but I want to start with this question for you first. What are some of the projects that you've been tasked with thus far, and what have you learned from them? And then the comment in the comment section is, what has been the most exciting or boring part of your internship? So two-part question there, and I'll hand the floor over to you.
Yeah, so one of the main projects I've been tasked with is heading our weekly newsletters for our international and customers and our prospects. So working on the newsletter has taught me how to communicate with various members of the team in a timely and efficient manner. I've learned how to organize content in a way that highlights the most important aspects and draws viewers in. And I've learned how to meet a weekly deadline while still offering my best work. And I think in general, I'm a very project-oriented person. If I have a goal to work towards, then I get really focused and it motivates me to finish that goal. So that's definitely been the most exciting part of my internship, is just having several projects that I can work on. And I also really like collaborating with the other interns. I wouldn't necessarily say boring, but it has been difficult to figure out how to split my time when I am not in a meeting or when I don't have a project necessarily to focus on, and just to try to figure out what to do to be more productive.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. Riley, how about you? What's been the most exciting and boring part of your internship thus far?
Most exciting is definitely meeting because marketing is so broad. And you look at who makes up the marketing team, and it's like, wow, like all these people work for the same team because everyone has such a unique role, and everyone comes together to make these amazing projects. So definitely having one-on-ones with all these different people has been awesome to hear everyone's story and how they got to where they are. And then also being able to collaborate with such unique people has been a great experience. As to boring, I really wouldn't say there's anything boring. I'm only bored if I'm really not doing a project, but that's rarely ever. I would never say it's boring. Here at Phenom, everything's fast-paced, always doing something, for sure.
All right, that's good. And for you, Denise, exciting and boring aspects of your internship thus far?
I would say exciting wise, being able to kind of tap into some of the interests I had prior to this internship. So like I myself am a fan of web design and branding and things like that, like social media, that really floats my boat. So coming in, I was excited to get exposure to all areas, but the places that kind of hold a special place in my heart, it's been fun working with those team members and getting like a real look into what goes into making a website successful, building a social platform. So that's been really cool. I've really loved all of that. But boring wise, probably just the fact that we have so many meetings and sometimes the lingo goes right over my head because I'm still somewhat of a newbie in the industry. So when there's so many acronyms being thrown at you and you're just like, wow, it's not connecting, maybe then it gets a little boring because you're just not quite sure what's happening. But most of the meetings aren't that way. They're upbeat and fun, like Riley said. But yeah, just some honesty there.
No, HR tech certainly is acronym crazy. ATS, HCM, CRM, the whole nine. It's almost like we're reading off baseball statistics. I am disappointed, however, none of you said the most exciting part thus far is being on TXL. So we're going to have another meeting after this and discuss how you can answer that question correctly. But one thing that I think you had mentioned, Riley, was about connecting with other interns. And I know this is just the marketing interns here at Phenom, but have you been able to have cross-functional conversations with maybe some interns in different departments? And what does that look like? Do you get to talk about certain acronyms and say, I still have no idea what the hell CRM means? Or do you say, what's your experience like? What are you learning and things like that? What does it look like?
No, I think something that is so unique to Phenom is, yes, Denise, Gita, and I have our own responsibilities and tasks to complete for the marketing team. But as a whole, all the interns have also, totally separate from the marketing team, been tasked with a video project that we are collaboratively working on together, which has been a great experience because it gives you different exposure to different departments that the other interns are working for. And it's very interesting to see how their internships may be similar or different to what we do here. And looking externally outside of Phenom, I've also been able to connect with my friends that might intern for different companies. And they don't really have an experience like that. It's more like you have your set workload, you do this for this department and go from there. And I think that's something I really value working for Phenom, being able to connect outside of your department and get more exposure.
That's awesome. It's great to hear that you're not, and I know this isn't really a marketing function, but just living in Excel spreadsheets and crunching numbers and coming up with pivot tables and all sorts of stuff that I have no idea about. But I truly think that work is about the relationships that you build. We spend, the majority of our lives with our coworkers, more so than our friends, our family, and our loved ones. So being able to connect with other interns and share their experiences and their learning aspects is also awesome. There is another comment in the section. I'm going to call out that one in just a second. But first, I want to ask you, Gita, what are you going to miss most about your internship? And I know that it is not going to be those acronyms that I mentioned before, like CRM, ATS, and everything like that. So what are you going to miss?
Definitely not the acronyms. But I think the thing I'll miss the most is working on a team and having a supportive environment that allows me to learn and grow, and interacting with the other interns in my department. Everyone in the department has been so supportive, and they really talked me through all the small steps and also explained some of those acronyms. And my time here in the marketing department has really helped me learn and put my best self forward.
That's awesome. That's awesome. The next question, I think, is a great one to ask all of you. So we'll keep it over to you, Gita. How have your expectations about work changed after going through this particular internships? Do you expect every Zoom meeting to be upbeat and fun and have somebody make ridiculous jokes on them? Or do you oftentimes think that it is, going to be serious when, the topic is serious and more fun throughout? So what have you learned, and how have your expectations of work changed?
I think my expectations have changed in a more broader aspect. I used to think that the corporate world was very strict and you had to dress a certain way, act a certain way, behave a certain way in meetings, and you always kind of had to be completely prepared. And working at Phenom has really showed me that it's okay to be in a very supportive and fun-loving environment and still be able to get your work done. Everyone here is very nice and supportive and friendly, and they also like to joke around, but at the same time, they're also very professional. So it's definitely changed my outlook on what the workforce is like.
Awesome. Riley, how about you?
Yeah, I can totally back off that in the sense of I entered this internship thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to wear a suit every day on Zoom and enter very professionally and everything. But coming into Phenom and entering all these meetings, that's not how it is. And Phenom makes you feel, in a sense, it makes you feel like you're at home, and they're so welcoming, and they can be so comforting to you and accepting while at the same time keeping it professional. And that has been awesome and really changed my, not expectations, but what I thought that working for an internship virtually would be.
I got you. Riley, you are at home. This is a virtual internship, so I'm glad that you feel at home during the process.
Everyone's friendly.
No, it's funny you mentioned the suit thing. And Denise, I promise I'm going to throw it over to you in just a second. But true story, when I went into my career counselor at college and they asked what I wanted to do, I said that I wanted to wear a suit every single day. And based on my outfit today, you could see nothing like that ever stuck around. I don't even wear a suit when I'm technically supposed to. So it is interesting to get that real world experience. And I think so many individuals have that buttoned up idea of the next step in their life with work because of pop culture, movies, and things like that. But Denise, how has it changed for you and your aspect of what work will look like in the future for you?
Right. Well, I think Riley touched on this a bit, but I think kind of coming into this, I wasn't as prepared to be met with like as many sub teams as there are here at Phenom. My prior work experience has been with much smaller teams. So then coming to this team that's 30 plus individuals where they all wear their own hat and they have their own specialty and role that makes the marketing team work. It was really cool coming here and seeing that, you know, there's like actually 6 people who are making this email, making it right, editing it, writing it, and getting it out there. So I've just really appreciated the exposure to content team, demand gen, web design, because if it wasn't for these sub teams, the team itself wouldn't work. So just seeing and observing all the leadership within those teams has also been awesome because, you know, I hope one day I'm in that position. So yeah, it's exactly what I wanted, and it's been a fun time.
Awesome. Yeah, it's not like the dreaded college project where you scramble together the last second. Sometimes you do to get something out the door, and one person does all the work and other people don't pull their weight. I'm sure that's the case in some situations, but for the most part, everyone is invested in the end goal. So my next question, we'll start with you, Gita, is how do you plan on applying what internship learnings you've gathered in your first job opportunity? What do you plan on doing with that?
Yeah, so in my previous jobs, I worked very solo positions and I was by myself. So I think the most valuable thing that I've taken away from this experience is how to work and thrive in a team. Knowing how to communicate with different members and work to find solutions to problems together will really help me in the future with whatever job I end up having in the future.
Nice. Denise, how about you?
Well, you know, I've learned so much here. It's hard to pick just one, but truly, I think something that I'll take away is, you know, you've got to be challenged if you want to make any type of impact in your role. And here at Phenom, I think it's almost encouraged to be pushed to your limits, pushed until you're like, okay, this is failure for me. I've got to reevaluate how I go about this. So I think just having a team supporting you and your managers really pushing you, seeing how much you can do, what your strengths and weaknesses are, and just not being afraid to fail, which is something I think I apply to a lot of different aspects of my life. But it's interesting seeing that here in the summer, as a part of the internship program, we've been encouraged to be challenged and pushed until we're like, you know what, maybe we're not amazing at this and we're better at this, or I can work on these skill sets to improve what I'm not so great at. So I think just stepping out of your comfort zone and being challenged and making sure that the team that you eventually end up on is going to continue to challenge you. And they're not going to be all right with like, yeah, you're good at that, you can stay there for the rest of your life. Like, you want to level up, you want to grow. So I think that that's something unique that Phenom brings to the table. And moving forward, that's something I definitely want when I am joining the workforce.
Awesome. Never settle. Always want more. Riley, how about you? How do you plan on applying what you've learned during this internship to your first job opportunity?
Yeah, so as Denise had said, I have learned so many things about all things marketing and everything in between. But the most genuine and authentic and what I would say most valuable thing I've learned is the absolute, utter, and true value of teamwork. And forming relationships with team members is absolutely essential in order to achieve success in a company. And taking the time to connect and form those relationships with your team members through one-on-ones or whatever it might be makes the difference, and will definitely be something I do like going forward with whatever positions I might pursue in the future.
Awesome. I think this will probably be the last question that we're wrapping. Actually, one just popped in. Actually, it's how friendly the team is, but you guys covered that already. I think everyone was welcomed and everything along those lines. Denise, this next question, I'll start with you. What advice would you share with other employers to help them engage in more engaging internships and develop those?
Well, that's funny. I think my answer to this will go along with that last question there. Just like friendliness and being welcoming to your interns and your new hires. because something that I really value, and I know I can speak for Riley and Gita, was that we were able to have some person allocated to us as a part of the marketing team to kind of be in our corner and be there for, the dumb questions we didn't want to ask on the all hands call. And for that person for us was Jen Thomas. She's on the content team. Anybody that knows her loves her. She's such a warm, bubbly personality. So I'm really glad that the marketing team took a step back and was able to evaluate. Jen is the person for this role. She fit it so well because she really knew how to make us feel welcome from the start, not only just as a colleague, but as a friend. And she has been here for us every step of the way, answering all our sometimes dumb questions and just being kind of our cheerleader. So I think appointing somebody to do that job and do on account of knowing how they will perform, knowing what their personality is is really important. So yeah.
Jen is great. She's on well-deserved vacation right now, and she does a lot to help put the show together. So I am appreciative of her as well. One thing that I thought was funny that you mentioned was that friendliness aspect, and it makes me think of Hollywood. And whenever you see an internship movie, it's always go get coffee or go do this. That's not the environment that it truly is, or that it ever should be. Riley, how about you? What advice would you share with other employers to help them develop a more engaging internship program?
So this might sound as the most basic common sense that you could ever think of, but if you have a team of multiple interns, make sure that they're getting along and can collaborate well together. Developing these strong relationships with fellow interns is absolutely essential to thrive in a work environment, especially as we're living in a remote virtual work environment now. Because coming in as an intern, the first 1 to 2 weeks can be super intimidating to think, to go to an executive for advice or a higher up manager on your team. It's just intimidating, and being able to feel completely comfortable going to other interns as outlets to solve challenges or work through projects together is so awesome and has definitely made a difference during my time at Phenom. And I know, hopefully I can speak for Gita and Denise, but I know that we'll definitely stay in touch after this internship and connect in the future, which has been great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Gita, how about you? What advice would you give to that corporate organization to improve on a more engaging internship?
Yeah, well, I definitely agree with everything Denise and Riley have said. I actually started my internship a couple weeks after they did, and they were both really crucial in helping me get acquainted with the team and also with all the small things that I was supposed to do that I didn't know I was supposed to do. So they were great. And then also, I think a unique thing that we did was having one-on-one sessions scheduled with various members of the team. So when I first started, I met with different members of the team in one-on-one 10-minute sessions to talk about their job, how they fit into the department, what my role will be, and how I could help them. And this process really helped me get acquainted with the different roles in the department, as well as get introduced to important members really quickly. So that was really helpful. And then I think the other thing that was really helpful that I didn't even notice was happening until a couple weeks into my internship was that everyone on the team really treated the interns like equal employers. There was no handing off boring busy work to us or, kind of treating us as their personal assistants. They really valued us as individual team members. And that really helped me just genuinely want to work more and get along with my coworkers.
Awesome. That's great to hear. One last question that came in through, and this is from Christina. It's, what are you looking to learn from your internship that you may not have been able to do so far? So I know we're coming down to the home stretch. You guys are getting ready to go back to school and sit in Zoom classes and do that whole thing all over again. But is there anything in particular that you are like, this is one thing that I want to learn how to do? Maybe it's host TXL. Maybe it is, create a blog in a couple minutes, or edit or learn something in Drupal. Are there any goals? And if not, do you plan on setting them? And we'll start with you, Denise.
Well, I'm gonna flip this back on you because I feel like this is what I would like to know. If I could, I would go to every team member and say, put yourself in my shoes. Go back to when you were, a 21-year-old, and what's a piece of advice that you wish you could have told yourself if you could kind of rewind the clock? So, Devin, take it away.
The tables have been turned. I think the one piece of advice that I would have given myself is, number one, don't expect to wear a suit when you go to work, because you're not going to do that for the future. But it's also, I think, is take every opportunity that you can to learn, right? Whether it's attend a meeting that you don't necessarily need to be on, and just soak up information. That's what I do now. There are instances where I'll kind of just sit in the background. Oftentimes I'm very vocal, but if I'm not, it's just listening and trying to pick up on little things like, what does this acronym mean? Maybe I can use that in a future instance. One example of that is JTCs. I just learned the other day, join the talent community. So that was just from attending a call that I sat in on. And I was like, I wonder what that meant. So I hope that answers your question, but it's soaking up as much information as you can. Riley, how about you?
No, I would definitely agree with that, just to keep expanding my knowledge. And I know we haven't yet entered product marketing, but I'm really excited to that, and excited for that, and hoping to soak up that information there.
Yeah. Awesome. And Gita?
I would really love to learn how to quicken my reaction time to projects. I think with school, you usually have longer deadlines and you have some time to get things done and you can kind of work at your own pace. But working in a team and a department, you really need to be able to respond to things quickly and come up with content really quickly. So I would love to learn how to get better at that. And I think that just comes with practice.
Yeah. I think the only way that I know how to do that is to do it live, just in front of camera and say, you have to do it. You have to get it done. That may not be the best approach for you, but certainly that's an awesome thing to look forward to. I know I'm terrible at responding to emails and Slack messages, so I'd like to improve upon that as well. If you have any secrets before you leave, please share them with me in order to meet deadlines. But thank you all so much for joining. I know we had a special guest hop in behind me there for a minute that a couple people were asking about. I think that was our fourth unpaid intern, the VP of Marketing, Jonathan Dale. But nonetheless, it was great having you on. I wish you nothing but success for the rest of your internship, the rest of your collegiate career, as well as your future careers. And hopefully we can have you back on when you are leaders in the marketing industry and we can talk about marketing and how it transcends into talent acquisition. But I hope you all have a good day.
Same with you.
Thank you.
Awesome. See ya. Bye.
See you guys.
That was Denise, Riley, and Gita, our marketing interns here at Phenom. And we talked about specifically the truth about virtual internships, how it has changed, how you should really learn your interns, how to engage with them, such things as video instead of job description text. Don't leverage TikTok maybe if you're trying to recruit interns, because it is a safe space. So if you missed any of the episode, definitely catch the follow-up on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitter. You can always like and subscribe so that you never, ever, ever miss an episode, even if it does happen to stumble upon a Wednesday instead of a Thursday. With that being said, we do have an episode tomorrow, so definitely don't miss this one. It is with Amit Parmar, CEO and founder of Clickify. We're talking everything job descriptions, potentially why they are failing and what you can do about it. Job descriptions are oftentimes the first touch point a candidate has with your company and employer brand, but let's be honest, most of them stink. So we will talk with Amit about that tomorrow. It's actually at a special time. It is 1 Eastern. So definitely check out that episode. Again, if you can't make it, you can always catch the replay on YouTube or on our LinkedIn page. One episode that you may have missed that I would love to promote right now is last week's, which was Text to Apply, everything that you need to know to fill high volume roles fast. We were joined by Andrew O'Brien, lead product manager, and Michelle Oliveri, I learned how to say that last week, customer success manager at Phenom. And we talked everything about texting, whether it be campaign tactics, how recruiters can reach candidates faster. And since the world was opening up and people began to start seeing, hey, text me when you get there, how you can apply that same urgency in your process when it comes to recruiting and texting. So with that being said, let's air the clip. Anyway, we're having some technical difficulties here right now, but definitely check out that full episode with Andrew O'Brien. It is on YouTube. Thank you to everyone who chimed in today. Colleen, John Ryle, Kessa, Christina, Monica, Jonathan, Trevor, Ramu. It was a pleasure doing this with you. Also, special shout out to our interns. I know that they will be tuning in tomorrow to see how that episode goes. And I hope everyone enjoys the rest of your day. Thanks so much.